in my experience, one of the trickiest parts of the whole process. This is where the projects either become really successful or they die off. Then you start with the data exploration piece. Then you prepare the data. Once you're familiar with the data, you prepare the data for the modeling, any kind of modeling approach that you're going to take. You build the actual model, validate the results of the model, implement the model, track the results, and of course, keep refreshing the model. So this is your standard modeling methodology. What I'm going to do is focus on the first 4 steps of this process, and primarily on the first 3 steps. How did we define the problem? How did we convert the business problem into an analytical problem? Data exploration, data preparation, and different kinds of modeling approaches that can be taken. So let's start with the first step of the process. Again, usually for most kind of analytics problems, this is the most interesting step. So problem definition. So this is basically the problem that was given to us by the business. Your premium is what the insurance company is charging for insuring the car. So this is what you're paying to the insurance company. Is X percentage of IDV. So premium is a fixed percentage of the value that you've declared for your car. Okay. This X is the rate that is assigned by the company. Essentially, what we have to do is determine the optimal level of X. Okay. So till now, the company has been using a flat rate X that they've been charging for all models, all locations, everything. Now, what they're trying to do is come up with different values of X for different models based on the risk profile. Okay, so this is essentially what the business told us. Now there are a couple of questions here. What is the revenue of the insurance company? So if I were to ask you, what is the revenue stream for the insurance company? What is it that they are making money from?
Insurance policy?
From the premiums, exactly. So the revenue is, if we just simplify things for the sake of understanding, so the revenue for the insurance company is basically the premiums that are coming in, right? And what is the cost? Cost is the claims. Yeah. There is of course some administrative cost, marketing cost, and all of that. For the purpose of this analysis, we don't need to get into that. We have a very simplified situation where the premium is the revenue and the claims is the cost. Right? And so essentially the profit is the sum of all premiums that the company is receiving minus the claims that they are paying out. Right? And if we just manipulate this equation, so the premium essentially comes out to be the claim that is paid out plus the profit that you want to keep. Right? So essentially what is it that the company is trying to do? They are trying to predict. So in terms of the analytical approach, what we are doing is we are predicting the claim as a percentage of IDV. So what percentage, so if a car is insured for 100, what percentage of that is the expected claim, is what you expect to pay out. And once we've defined claim as Y percentage of IDV, then there's a delta that we can add to it, that's a business decision on what amount of profit they want to keep. And we can decide on X, right? So given the problem that the business had, this is how we just converted it into an analytical problem. So now the goal of our exercise is to predict claim as a percentage of IDV. Okay, so just some high-level data exploration. Any new kind of data, the first step that you will do is summarize the data in order to understand it. So this is a table where essentially we had 41,096 policies. This is the data that we had. Out of these policies, 7,702 had actual claims. And the total premium received by the company on these policies is 435 million rupees, 43.5 crores. The premium as a percentage of IDV at the macro level, aggregate level, is about 2.78%. So this is what the company is receiving. Total claims paid out 375 million, claim as a percentage of IDV 2.4%. Okay, so essentially this is what the company is doing. They are charging 2.78% of the IDV as a premium, and they are paying out 2.4% as their as the payout, right? So this just gives us a sense of what the overall data looks like. This is very important because you need to have a very good sense of what the data looks like in order to find out what is unusual, what is different from the rest, right? So again, this is a simplified version of the data. We have 12 models and we have 16 cities. So these are the 12 car models that are there across these 41,000 policies, and these are the 16 cities that are there.
We have about 5 minutes.
Okay. So we've done a little more of exploration. We're trying to figure out what's the frequency of each of these models. So Maruti WagonR is 18% of all the policies, most common. Mitsubishi Cedia is the lowest one. We do the same with the cities just to get a sense of where the data is coming from, what values it has. The next step that we do is basically we rank order all the models on the basis of in terms of the claim as a percentage of IDV. Okay, so in the data we have the claim, we have the IDV. What we've done is we've just aggregated that, and for each model, what is the average claim as a percentage of IDV? We can see some very interesting trends here. Very apparent. Hyundai Santro is the most profitable model for the company as an overall at a macro level. 1.74% is what they are paying. They're charging. We saw they're charging 2.84% on an average. So just looking at this table, you can immediately see that the models at the top are highly profitable for the company. The models at the bottom are not profitable. The bottom three, in fact, are loss-making for the company, right? We've also classified them into low, medium, high. We've done the same with the cities. Again, you can see some trends. There are some cities which are highly profitable. There are some cities which are actually loss-making. And if you just look at the names, you can see that some of the smaller cities are very profitable. The larger cities tend to be unprofitable. Intuitively makes sense because the larger the city, the more the traffic, the more likelihood you have of getting into an accident. So immediately you can see, if you look at the previous table and if you look at this, the company should probably charge a higher price for SUVs. You can see Tata Safari and Scorpio there right at the bottom. So SUVs tend to be more risky than the rest of the population. Similarly, bigger cities tend to be more accident prone than the rest of the population. What we've done is we've taken a very simplistic approach here. We've clubbed all the models into high, medium, and low. We've clubbed all the cities into high, medium, and low, and we've just taken a 3x3 matrix: high, 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 medium, high, low, medium. Those 9 combinations, and you can clearly see the difference here in terms of what the company is paying out as a percentage of IDV. So for the company now, it makes sense to charge a higher rate for any Tata Indica or Honda Accord or Tata Safari or Scorpio that comes from these cities, right? So they can have a differential pricing based on the model that you have and the city that you're coming from. And you can have different prices. So if there's a Ford Figo that comes from Jalandhar, you can charge a much lower rate because you know that the likelihood of paying out a claim is that much lower, right? So this is the first step that we've done. Now there are obvious problems with this approach. Anyone would like to point out the problems with this approach? Sorry?
People might register somewhere and then they might drive in different cities.
Okay, yeah. Just this approach as a model.
Yeah. So there are a lot of other factors like the age of the vehicle.
Right. No, assume, see, when we did the actual model, the age of the vehicle came out as a significant factor that was put in. I have not taken that because I didn't want to show a 3x3 matrix. It's just easier to show it with 2 variables. So assuming that this is all the information, there's a very obvious problem with this model that you can see here. It's an aggregated model. Okay, so Guwahati and Gurgaon are cities that are high-risk cities. Right? And Tata Indica and Honda Accord are models that are high-risk models. But that doesn't mean that a combination of Guwahati and Tata Indica is necessarily a high-risk model, right? Because we've aggregated it here. What we could have done is taken each of these cities individually, each of these models individually, and done a 16 by 12, 192 cell grid, and then picked out each value independently, right? So we could have done that because we have two variables and we've got only 16 and 12 values in each of these variables. If you have 20 different variables and some of them are continuous, some of them are discrete, you really can't use this cross-tabulation approach, right? So this is essentially a BI approach where you're just slicing and dicing, and this is the frequency in each of those cells. This is a slight improvement on the same approach where you're using an approach called decision trees. Okay, so this approach is essentially a cross-tab approach, but what it does is it automates the way in which you will select your splits. Okay, so if you have 10 different variables and you have 20 different values, which variable to choose and what value to split at to show these kind of splits, this